Yeah, and I would fight that. I would say like, oh, okay, show me the law that there I can't have this because I think it's so new and we're in the wild wild west with AI. So until you prove that there is a law that I can't use AI representation, I can. So I would have said that to the judge. And then you would have went to jail.
I've just been told that no one could hear me, and it's completely my fault. I was on mute, and
Are
so
you freaking kidding me?
and that was some really good conversation that we had there. Yeah, that's just we're just gonna go with it, and the voice is gonna try to do better at hitting a button before. I leave it on mute because you and I do like sound checks before, and I don't want it like going out into the world, and I left it on mute.
I
So
wonder if you guys knew, like, you guys got the gist of what we were talking about by my replies. I think you guys
well,
probably
here
did.
I vibe coded this. I can pause it. You see this little red dot next to the thing. So what we were talking about is there was an AI lawyer that was actually brought up for a claimant in an employment dispute, and the judge threw it out. Wouldn't allow there to be an AI lawyer, and we were saying how ridiculous that'd be. And Christine, you were just saying, which they could hear you, that you think they maybe be a bit overpriced. Okay, no, you said no shade to your
Mhm.
previous representation,
Yep.
and maybe they would know all the facts as well. So yeah,
Oh
next
my
time you get
god.
in a bind, are you going to look for an AI avatar lawyer?
Yeah. I'm
Why
going
not?
to hire the Tesla robot to be my house
Oh,
assistant, best friend slash lawyer.
100%. I definitely want this to happen. And yeah, please do that. All right, let's move on. Sorry that went so haywire, but that's okay. We can make it work. All right, next comes up is tariff targets. Now, Christine, you're going to talk about tariffs later in the show, so don't spill the beans on everything you got yet. But in response to U.S. tariffs on Canadian imports, Canada has retaliated with a list of targeting tariffs on U.S. goods, including, now tell me if these affect you, Christine,
Okay.
including tariffs on flamethrowers,
Yes, it
manat,
affects me.
okay, manatee meat. I
Yes,
don't
it
know if you,
affects me.
okay, live monkeys,
Yes, it
okay,
affects me.
okay, and all these prompt the political motives behind their selection. So, or behind their, the selection for these. So, why? Are we about to go on a run on flamethrowers, manatee meat, and live monkeys? What's happening? What is happening with Canadian imports?
I don't know. Like in all honesty, I see initially what you said at first, but manatee meat. The live monkeys, like is that because like just zoo stuff? Like I'm sure it's like circus or zoo things, right? It
Yeah,
better be. What the hell?
d- what to be? Why are we eating manatee? That doesn't sound good,
Yeah, like we
right?
don't need that. So 100%, 110% tariffs on manatee.
Okay. So you're okay with people that want manatee meat for them not to be able to get the manatee meat?
Yeah,
Okay,
what do we even use? Could we ask Grok here? Like, what is manatee meat used for and why and how the percentage of the importance to businesses, I guess? That's ridiculous.
I'm asking Grok right now. So it says manatee meat has historically been used as a food source for various indigenous peoples in communities and regions where manatees are found. It says beyond food, manatee fat was sometimes rendered for cooking, medicinal purposes, or as a waterproofing agent.
No,
Okay.
you guys. It's 2025. It's time to just eat chicken.
So yes, manatee meat is on the list. Sorry that's going to happen, and live monkeys, and that's bad too. And maybe most importantly, a flamethrower. Have you ever seen a
Okay, I
flamethrower?
want a flamethrower, so I'm pissed about that.
Well, if anybody watched after last week, we got to see, I believe, live video of you throwing a Molotov cocktail as well, which
Yes.
that was amazing. Do you feel like AI perfectly represented you throwing a Molotov cocktail?
Yeah, I feel like that's what it would look like. We need an AI of me using a flamethrower.
I was
You
just
as
about to
well.
say,
Yeah.
I'm hearing in my ear that our producer said that we've got live video of you using a flamethrower. So look for that if that somehow surfaces on the web, which again, my producer is telling me this 100% will happen.
You know,
All right.
whatever, because we will get US made flamethrowers.
That's right. That's right. They'll be a little more costly, but made in America. All right. Bitcoin watch list. top US Bitcoin stocks to follow. MarketBeat screener tool identifies iShares Bitcoin Trust, Mara, CleanSpark, Riot Platforms, and Core Scientific as top Bitcoin stocks to watch in the US market. So it's been a bloodbath this week until today. Is it still green right now? I'm seeing a lot of red down here at the bottom. But Nvidia's up. Looks like the crypto market's kind of taking it in the shorts, but the stock market is doing a little bit better today. If you're looking into Bitcoin, Christine, what's a better thing to do? Is it to buy Bitcoin itself, or is it to invest in companies that invest in Bitcoin?
Both. Always
Okay.
both, I think. If you can do both, I think do that. Obviously, it's personal preference, I believe, but I would do both if possible. Just split that up.
Any particular reason? Do you feel like you could have greater gains by a company? Let's say you do options or something like that that can be highly leveraged. Do you feel like that's a good idea to do options or something like that that's in Bitcoin, but not necessarily Bitcoin itself? Or like you said, both, a little bit of leverage trading with Bitcoin, maybe.
I just feel like sometimes a company's growth, if they're invested in Bitcoin, let's say, it can be an aggressive, it could just be a lot more aggressive in profits and growth in that versus Bitcoin at the time. But if you believe in Bitcoin, you might as well try to spread it out a little bit and then get your gains from both areas.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. This reminds me, last year, Christine and you and I were doing a lot of spaces, and we would talk about Riot, and we did buy some leaps on Riot options. Leaps being options that expired more than a year from then. They kind of went down. We went into profit and then went down, and we both exited. But I think we probably would have done better if we would have held on to like this last January, whenever Bitcoin kept on going up. But then we probably would have ended up in the red after that if we would have held too long after that. So we've done this thing before where we invested in Riot and we got out profitably.
You more
I don't
than
know.
me.
Yeah, I held on you got out really soon. I held on a little longer and it did go up a little bit more. But there was still meat on the bone that I should have left it in. I don't know.
Same.
I don't know why.
I kept
Yeah,
going back in. Remember, I would like
I
grab the
do remember
gains
that.
and I'm like, I'm coming back in because we know like there is some type of volatility. Nothing goes straight up. And if it does, it goes straight down. So, but yeah, I tried
Correct.
to get in when it like just mildly corrected, but Voice did it so well.
Well, I don't know about so well. I could have done better. And you always, it's the only thing you think about is what you could have done better. By the way, anybody in the chat, if you invest in stocks that are involved in cryptocurrency, whether it be Bitcoin or not, love to hear from you in there. So go on in the chat. The best way to get people talking in the chat is to mute one of our mics whenever they don't happen. Whenever we like fall on our face and don't do something correctly, that's whenever a lot of people talk in the chat. But y'all can talk about other things besides our technical problems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
use that
should.
chat. And if you guys don't know, it's at the bottom and it just says chat and then it enters you into the chat room.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, let's talk about some tech trends. BlackRock, who seems to own everything, their recommendation is to invest in short term treasuries rather than U.S. stocks amid trade tension highlights and the potential economic impact of President Trump's tariff policies on the tech sector. Now, this kind of hurts my heart a little bit because I believe that, tech there's so much going on with AI and just so much. So I hate to hear BlackRock saying this, but at the same time, BlackRock pretty much decides what goes up and down through their buying and selling, right? They can manipulate the market as they see. And they're saying to invest in short-term treasuries, which are a little more risk averse than U.S. tech stocks. What do you think about that, Christine? Because I know from a trader here on X, sometimes we don't go with what BlackRock says, or we don't go with what your local financial advisor says. Sometimes we take a little more risks.
I don't think that BlackRock would tell us the correct thing to do
Okay.
because,
Okay.
like I just feel like you kind of just lean into, I tend to lean into the opposite or look into the opposite of what they're telling us to do and then see if they're telling the truth. And a lot of times they're not. And BlackRock is everyone's daddy. So,
Yeah.
rebel.
Okay. So you're saying they say this is like a Jim Cramer thing, right? You're saying they say to invest in short term treasuries rather than tech stocks. And you're saying maybe you should put a closer eye into tech stocks right now because BlackRock says to look the other way.
Yeah, and I think last week we talked about like what are the top 3 or top 10 tech companies to lean into and invest in, like whatever extra cash that you do have. And I believe that right now is that time where people look back on like I should have invested in Google, I should have invested in Apple. It was right there in my face. Why didn't I do it? I think it's staring at us in the face right now with a bunch of staple tech companies that you know will be here forever.
Yeah, I think you've got to look where is investment money going into, not necessarily buying stocks, but if you're like, I'm going to talk about quantum computing here in a bit. And whenever I do, you'll see that some companies are really investing heavily into quantum computing. And whenever that happens, that creates IPOs that you can invest into that are, a tech sector that's really going to take off, which I do think quantum
Mhm.
computing is, as well as AI. All right, Bitcoin layer 2, DOS. It says Rootstock is moving to the next stage of enabling developers to develop layer 2 networks using his BitVMX project, a design for Ethereum style smart contracts to be built on Bitcoin. That's really interesting. So, Christine, you and I have done NFTs. We've been part of smart contracts. You've paid a developer to make smart contracts. You're well aware of a smart contract, but it's always been on Ethereum or something like Ethereum that can run, contracts there on chain. What would you think of Bitcoin being able to do that? And if Bitcoin is able to do that, is that a bear case for something like Ethereum?
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to know if that would be a bear case, like for Ethereum. To you, would it be? This is where I text you and I'm like, hey, what do
Is
you
this
think
bad?
about
Right.
this? Yeah.
Is this bad? Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to think if you texted me this. I would say, okay, at the risk of some people that follow me that I've known from the way they respond, I think they think I'm a Ethereum bull. And so I'm about to come out of the closet here and
Oh,
say
heck no.
I'm not necessarily an Ethereum bull. Okay. I think that gas fees really hinder Ethereum. And everybody's like, oh, Ethereum to $10,000. Well, if it went to $10,000, I'd like to know how much you think each transaction would cost at that point. And it's not going to be low. Okay, so already we've seen whenever Bitcoin was kind of taking off and just the cryptocurrency market was taking off, Ethereum really didn't. Ethereum really just kind of stayed stagnant. And then whenever the market went down, well, it didn't stay stagnant. It went down with the rest of the market. So market goes up, Ethereum stays the same. Market goes down, Ethereum goes down. So if Bitcoin were to come up with a use case that is completely like what the selling point is for Ethereum, I would think that's bad for Ethereum. Just my personal statement. Now, Solana, you can run or chains like Solana, you can run smart contracts on those. The gas transaction fees are not as high on
Right.
those. And so there may be a place, okay, for non-Bitcoin smart contracts, they're cheap transaction fees. I'm just saying if you can run layer 2 style networks on Bitcoin, just like Ethereum, and you can do it for cheap, which I don't know that you can on Bitcoin. I don't think it's good for some of these other chains like Ethereum. I think it would be a bull case for Bitcoin at the least.
Yeah, at the least. And you have places like El Salvador that have been trying to teach their, um, citizens to use Bitcoin transactionally, like daily. And we all were like, how does that work? But I mean, this would be bullish for them.
Yeah, it would certainly be bullish for them. All right, next up is a cybersecurity surge. Okay, top cybersecurity stocks. And this is I went into vibe coding the other day, a couple of weeks ago on my segment Voice Lessons, and I got into people that are coding that don't know what they're doing probably leads to some security opportunities for people looking to secure up sites and apps that are built by people that don't know what they're doing. Well, this mentions Alphabet, which is Google's parent company. CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks are highlighted as top cybersecurity stocks to watch by MarketBeat, reflecting an increased importance of cybersecurity in the U.S. I think, and I'd be interesting to hear what you think, do you think cybersecurity is going to be a bigger and bigger deal? And the reason I think it is because almost everything we're doing is digital. And just because you get into cryptocurrency or something doesn't mean you're a tech wizard, right? It doesn't mean
Right.
you know everything about tech stuff. And whenever that happens, you leave a gaping hole in your security. So
Mhm.
I think that there definitely is money in people, or, there definitely is business that will flow in to cybersecurity stocks because it becomes more and more important individually and maybe even more important on a business level where companies would pay millions to secure their network. I don't know. Am I off base
Whoa.
there to think it could go
I
up?
think that you just thought of $1 billion idea.
Well, I don't think I thought of that. I think it's already out there. I think people
Well, we
are
should
already
do it.
okay. Okay. I'm not the. I can't vibe code your security, so can vibe code a lot of things, but not security. Although I have built some things where I say like, hey, from a security standpoint, is this good? And it will tell me, no, it's not. You need to do this, this, and this, and you can fix that. From an investor standpoint, me personally, and I'm just about to speak me personally,
Okay.
not saying on the whole, I find cybersecurity stocks boring and I don't want to invest in them because I find them boring.
Because they're boring. Like, who
Yeah.
cares? You could just invest in it and like not
I mean, you're
care to
right. And I've
see the.
invested in boring stuff before, but whenever I invest in Riot or I invest in Nvidia, it seems fun
Oh
because they're
my god.
mining
Okay,
and
well
they are making GPUs.
you have fun stocks and then the really important boring ones that you can just invest in and not look at for 10 years.
What's the boringest stock that you've ever had in your portfolio? Like some energy or something like that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
something. I think there was like I for a while I was like all into water stocks. Wow, super boring.
Water,
But
yeah,
like
that
water
is.
is important, right? Like so that's like you saying like okay, I don't want to invest in water stocks. Like who cares if there's water shortages or water gets poisoned or whatever. It's so boring.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you're
you
right.
know
Look,
it's important.
profit is exciting. So I guess if I'm buying low and selling high, then anything can be exciting. And just a comment. That's all I'm
No,
saying
I
is
don't
that
care about your
cybersecurity
comment.
is boring.
Don't
No,
listen to him. Security is important. You have people like Brinks or these companies like Brinks, and we rely on security heavily right now. Imagine not investing 50 years ago in all this security for homes and businesses
that's
and
true.
see?
That's true. Look,
Mhm.
I'm interested in the profit. I'm just saying it's a little boring. All right,
Boring
next up.
profit. Boring profit.
I like boring profit. You're right. All right, next thing is trade tensions. BlackRock, second time they've made it here to the rundown. They have downgraded its outlook on U.S. stocks from neutral to neutral from overweight, advising investors to look at short-term treasuries, which is similar to what we said last time amid the uncertainty. Neutral to overweight. I don't know this ranking system. Uh, because now U.S. stocks are over. Is this like a weight
It's like a
scale?
it's like a Ozempic
Correct.
resonation there.
Yes, yes, correct. So U.S. stocks are now neutral instead of overweight. Is overweight like their way of saying like it's overbought, that sort of thing? Is this an RSI sort of a discussion?
I know. I was about to ask, like, so overweight equates to what?
It equates to overbought, I think. I would think like too much money is in it and it's due for a correction. Because in this world, in this weight gainy world, everybody self corrects to neutral to where like their weight should be, as to where like in the real world, your body like corrects to heavier than you would like to be, right? But in stock world, I think they're saying it's went back to neutral because they're telling you, look elsewhere. Don't invest in tech stocks, and now they are. Or in this one, it just says stocks in general, and yeah, they've went to neutral for sure. I don't know. It seems like I've heard that tier before. I've just never thought about it. How odd it is to say something a stock is overweight.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah,
Strange verbiage.
yeah. I don't know why they do that, but that's you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to make the stock sound more exciting for people like me. Okay, now there's an overweight and there's a weight gain and loss and maybe that's more exciting. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they're like, what words, trigger words could we use for people to be like, oh, yeah, I want
Yeah,
to hear about it.
The next IPO is just going to be called like Kick Ass or something like that, just for people like me that want everything good. All right, that is the roundup. We've went over everything. I'm going to stop the timer because last time, Christine, when you did Christine's Corner, that buzzer went off and you thought it was time to stop talking, and you do
Right.
not have to do that.
Let me put
Oh, you
my
haven't had on the
glasses.
specs? I was about to say you haven't had them on the entire time, but now you've got them on. I wasn't sure if you went with contact. Are you a contact wearer ever?
Um, I used to, and it hurts my eyes. I wish like there was like something way thinner that can work, but
I'm a contact wearer and I sleep in them too. So that's
you could
really
do
weird.
that?
I have monthly wear contacts and I can wear them for a month at a time and I sleep in them and then once a month. Sometimes I take them off just to give my eyes a break, but I get a new pair every month and I sleep in them. And yes, I wake up and I have to really rub my eyes and they're a little dry in the morning, but your face looks so disgusted right now. What you
Because
look
I saw a TikTok where someone got their multiple contacts stuck in the back of their eye and they were like taking it out and it's disgusting.
No, no, no. I'm not doing that. I've never had that happen, but I guess it could. All right, with that, let's do a little Christine's Corner.
Christine's Corner, where the buzz is hot. Crypto trends or the latest pop plot. From gadgets that glow to stars in the sky. If it's on her mind, you know it's gonna fly.
All right, Christine, the tariff narrative. We teased it a little bit of what you were doing earlier. I said don't spill the beans just yet. The tariff narrative. Tell me about tariffs. What's your thoughts on them, and are they going to be the crumble of the U.S. as we know it?
Okay, so my thoughts on the tariffs, and this has been an ongoing conversation with us as well as everybody else. The funny thing to me always is that when did we ever bring up tariffs before this, right? Like a lot of things are magnified with this administration, and I think we learn a lot about government and how politics works, like with administrations like this, where everything's magnified. Um, I was unaware that tariffs, like when they were importing here, we were charging this whole time, it was like 2.5%, right? And then when
Yeah,
we export out, it's like they were charging us 10%, 20. I don't even think there was a 10%. I think it's like 20%, 25%. While the whole time, everyone importing, it's 2.5%. And I now understanding that or learning this, I was like, why would it be like that? It's not fair. But the way the mainstream media kind of puts it out, you don't really hear like these numbers and you're not able to really understand what it was before. Even like Google, I feel like when you're Googling stuff, they're just kind of spitting or reiterating like what mainstream media is, and they're not telling you how unfair it was to us. And we're in major, major debt, guys. Like the US is insanely in debt with like high interest rates and this and that. And we have to get back to, a baseline or ground level of where we can afford to be like a fruitful country, and it's hard for us like with all these unfair percentages that we're getting charged with and how much we owe. So understanding that and expanding on it, I feel that initially you're upset and you're like, oh my gosh, the prices are getting raised, we have to tighten budgets even more than we have been the past few years. And why is he doing this? Why is this administration like getting other countries upset? But really, when we expand on that, and what I learned was it was unfair from the beginning. I don't know why we agreed to something where 2.5 on percent on imports from other countries, and then they charge us insane amounts
yeah.
percentages when we're exporting. Why is that? And I don't know. I'm still learning. And I think a lot of us have to admit that we never cared or even looked into tariffs before this. But now everyone's a freaking expert. And all I know is I don't know. And I just learned that it was unfair. Google didn't even want to tell me that. So that's strange. But now we're seeing like all these baseline tariffs and reciprocal tariffs that Trump's putting down on countries. But the good thing is that a lot of countries are saying, hey, can we negotiate this? And I think that's what the goal has been is okay, slap them with whatever tariffs he wants to do on each country. And then his hope was that they're going to want to negotiate it. And I'm
Yep.
guessing that's what it is. He's a businessman, and I think that's like businessman 101. I wanted to know, everyone's really upset about these tariffs. Like, and you'll hear it from even the tattoo industry. Someone was saying, what does this mean on us, you guys? Like the tariffs, like a lot of the needles that we use, I don't even think it's US made. A lot of them are, it's from China. Like, how is it going to affect us? What do you mean? And she was like freaking out. And of course, but we have to adjust accordingly. Everyone's going to adjust accordingly. If these needles, all of a sudden, the boxes of needles were times two the price, then times two the price on your tattoo. Like we just have to adjust, guys. And we're gonna go through some type of pain when in growth. It's growing pains, right? And transition pains. And we cannot move smoothly without feeling the effect of it. And I think that from learning like what this whole tariff thing is about and how much debt we have and how unfair it was, I do believe that we're going in the right direction. I do believe it's going to be somewhat painful. Hopefully, not as painful as mainstream media is making it sound to be, but hopefully, and I don't know the timeline, but hopefully in a short time it'll be okay, and then we'll be in the green. And how long haven't we been in the green in this country because of how
Yeah.
much we owe? But I would like to know your perspective on it.
Yeah, and I'll say a few things on it, and then you can tell me. All right, so let's say, first of all, I agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay, I love devil's advocate.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? So let's just say Trump didn't win the last election, and we
Okay.
kept on going down the path we were going down, right? And so the tariffs didn't really change. We just did the same thing that we were doing going forward. What would have happened? Are you predicting demise of the country slowly? And then to what end? Is this like we would have completely just had a market crash that we can't recover from in 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 20 years? What would have happened had we not done any of this tariff war, I guess is what I'm asking.
To me, I thought that we were on a free dive to becoming like a third world country or run like a third world. And, I'm in California, you're in Texas. I don't know if you were seeing the same thing, but a lot of it was like you go into the streets and you're like, dude, it looks like it's starting to be overrun. The laws were starting to get wobbly on everything. It started to look like the law had no hold on the streets, and it
Yeah.
was strange. And then, inflation to the maximum level. It just was not looking good. So I believe that if we did not get a hold on these tariffs and this administration didn't come in and make us look at this, I do believe it was a free fall and into our demise of the country, and we might have fallen into the hands of another huge country taking us over. I don't know if I'm just being conspiracy theorist like what I usually am, but like we could be like, hey, China, could you help us because we're turning into a third world country? Can you come in and
Gosh,
take
I mean,
over?
whether you say third world country, but I don't think you mean that. What I think you mean is we've always been the world power, right?
Right.
We've always been the ones that we're the ones helping out. Whenever some country is in trouble, the U.S. Ukraine, right? They go to the U.S. Please help us out. The U.S. has been the one that held together. And I think what you're saying is not necessarily third world country, but you're worried that we would have flipped it to where now we're the ones with our hat held out saying, spare change, please,
Yeah.
please other countries help us out. And maybe that would have happened. To your main point that you had is nobody was caring about tariffs and now they're an expert on it. And I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate and give a little bit of my own commentary. One, you said in California, inflation is just crazy now and it's not good. My counterpoint to that would be, well, now with the tariff war, inflation is going to be crazy as well. And it's getting crazy. It's like we're going along the same path.
Right.
However, okay, this gets to where my own thoughts on it is I do find it weird that we are putting in tariffs that are many times less than the tariffs that they're charging us whenever we're importing good or exporting goods into those countries. Okay, so they're charging us and no one's losing their mind about those tariffs. They're only thinking that it's bad whenever we have a tariff coming in. I think we've been taken advantage of economically and we're trying to correct that. The bad part about it is This is in an effort to make more things be bought here on stateside and in the United States, right? Have things more manufactured here, and the things that we buy be the things that we make. Well, the problem is it takes a long time to build a factory. It takes a long time to get, to stop making iPhones, in China and start making them in the United States. Whenever we pay minimum wage, which, by the way, Christine, in your state, y'all want to pay people like, $30 an hour for minimum wage. Well, I don't know if it's 30. It's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's like, I believe it's like 16 or 17 right now, but if you're in fast food chain, $20 an hour.
Okay. Fast food, you get even more. Anyway, point is, if we move everything stateside and we've got these very high, cost of living, inflation is bad, then all of a sudden your iPhone goes from the ridiculous $1,200, which that is ridiculous, to $5,000, something like that. So bringing things stateside might make things worse inflationary as well. However, I do want more things made in America and bought in America that are made in America. So I don't know what the magic fix is, and I feel like the Trump administration's heart's in the right place. And I'm no economist. I don't know what the right move is, but I know what they're trying to do. I at least say they at least are trying to do something. Because to your point, Christine, the last administration really was just like, well, let's just do the what we've always been doing and hope it works. And at least with this administration, they're like, all right, we're going to have DOGE. We're going to have the Department of Government Efficiency. Let's see if we can cut down on expenses by getting, dumb stuff that we're spending on that we don't need to spend it on. And then let's see if we can help out the economy by having an adjustment. We're going through an adjustment now, and it hurts a lot.
It does.
I just have to hope that it does what they're wanting it to do. And like I said, I'm no economist. I don't know that it will do what we want it to do or what the Trump administration wants it to do. But they are trying something, for better or for worse.
And, like going back to like the overweight, like slang terms that we were using earlier, it's like, this is the tough part, guys. Like, this is us going to the gym now. And it's going to cost us it's like pain and suffering at first, and then you get used to it. And then, the end goal is that we're a fit country, right? And then, he did a 10% baseline, I think, 10% on all countries, unless he says it's higher, which we already have kept hearing on all mainstream news. It's like, going back and forth with China. I think theirs is like insane and they're making ours insane. But I really think that they're going to sit down with him and then it's going to be something reasonable, because China, we are the biggest customer of the whole world is the US.
Yeah.
Like, we really don't buy US made stuff. We completely just turn to every other country to make us stuff. And we're like, yeah, I'd like to buy everything from everyone else except us. So this is like a way to get the economy going, get businesses to, start coming up, like from made by US for US. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there during the transition time. I also had this like light bulb idea the other day when I was talking about tariffs with Sam. I was like, it's so crazy because for a while there, I think a couple years ago, everyone was saying, hey, don't support Apple, don't support Shein, the huge clothing company, don't support all these China-based companies because they are inhumane in, they use children to make their clothing. A lot of people are committing suicide. People are putting help on the freaking fabric labels. Like, that's insane. So they're like, don't support these companies because they don't have like humane work labor laws. But then you get like this administration to come in and they're like, hey, tariffs on, especially on China, but everyone, it's even the field with the tariffs, and then China big time, like 30-50%, whatever. But then now you get those same people that were like, don't support them because they have no labor laws and they use children, to wanting to support them. And they're upset that they can no longer buy from Apple and all these companies that use children.
This is something that I've thought about before that's kind of weird. So in the U.S., we're like, there's a standard of living we need to have. Okay, $4.25, $8 is not good enough for minimum wage. So we're going to make it $16. We're going to make it $20 for fast food, right? But then whenever it comes to buying our own stuff, we're okay with shipping it out and making it get built by people that are getting paid, $0.25 a day sort of a thing.
Correct.
Nobody seems to have that issue. Let's go. Do you like Shark Tank? Okay, if you
I
watch
love
Cuban
Shark
and
Tank.
okay, and what does Mr. Wonderful always say? He says, "I could build you. I can instead of you having built it here in America, let's ship it off to China. We can make it for a tenth of a cost and sell it for twice the amount you're doing it for, and we can make major bank." And no one says at that point, Mr. Wonderful, that's great and all, but that would be supporting the whole system here that's people working in sweatshops and things like that. So we definitely want our cheap price stuff, and we definitely don't care if it comes at the price of having, basically sweat labor, okay, giving people inhumane wages. As long as we get that sweet, sweet merchandise for a sweet, sweet price, it seems that we're okay with it. So I don't have the answer for this because I, as an American, want to keep our standard of living, right? But at the same time, if we continue to go down this path, I think other countries can take advantage of us because we start to rely on them for their cheap labor until we kind of run out of resources ourselves.
Right. And I just feel like you guys, like, I think there's lessons to be learned in all of this. Like, a lot of us are being introduced to even learning about tariffs. But the same people that I know that were complaining about sweatshops and child labor and, all that are the same people complaining about, hey, now we can't buy this stuff from China. It's going to be so expensive and this and that. So, which one is it, you guys? Which one do you stand for more? Like that we get the cheap stuff from China and we are able to use and buy stuff from like labor that we would not stand for. You'd rather that than buy US American made stuff. Like I don't know which one, but you guys can't keep swaying, like getting yourself swayed back and forth from the mainstream media because it will make you go crazy. I honestly don't really like watch news too much. I'll look into like highlights of the week and stuff like that and not try to immerse myself too much. But you guys, we have to like really look at what it is. And right now it's going to be a painful period. I think the best thing that we could do is tighten the belt on your budget. Really just we have been doing that for the past few years, so just tighten it even more. And there's an end goal here. I think that's a difference between the recession that we were looking at the past few years to now. There's an end goal here, and the end goal is that we make this country a lot more fit and a fruitful in the green kind of
You're saying we
deal.
make this country, gosh, there's a term for it, like great
Yeah,
again?
make it like great again or
Again,
something.
okay. Gotcha. All right, one last thing I did want to bring up on this is it's amazing how whenever you affect somebody's pocketbook, that's whenever they get really opinionated on something, right? And I'll say this with the last election. The economy was hurting in the Biden administration. All of a sudden, people are like, maybe this MAGA thing may not be too bad. Well, now people are like, tariffs. I know lots about tariffs now, and they're ready to talk. Many times you'll hear me say something, and I'll say, I'm no economist. I don't know anything about any of this. But I don't think you usually hear that. Usually now the people that you talk to, they are an expert on intra-country relations and how those should work.
Yeah,
And
we just learned about it. Like a lot of us just learned about it. Like the transparency is real, guys, and we are not experts at anything. Oh, I have something to ask you. With
okay,
like a lot of people, across the nation there was like these protests going on and a lot more people than I thought was going to be, but I think it's because of the tariffs. What do you feel like your advice is to people that have like 401ks that are cut in half, that let's say voted for this administration, and because it's affecting their pocketbook, like you said, personally, now they're gung ho opposite, like want this administration to leave during because of this painful transition. What is your advice to people looking at their 401k that's cut in half because of this?
well, I am no financial advisor. So first of all, whatever's about to come out of my mouth, don't listen to. I'm no financial advisor. Go to your own financial advisor that actually is educated in that. However, that being said, I do know from trading is whenever you see something go down, okay, that is probably, and it's something that's in a market that traditionally go down and up. It would be a bad idea, okay? Maybe I'm just speaking for my own 401k, to then pull your money out, right? Buying high and selling low, while that may be how it seems like my crypto portfolio is intended to go, it is intended to be the wrong way to do it, right? You want to buy low, sell high. So now that we're low, yeah, you wish you would have got in right here. I think a lot of people that hold 401ks now are realizing the difficulty of the trader, right? Because you look at that portfolio and see that big red negative number. And some people are able to, they're good traders. They hold through that or they sell whenever it's appropriate. They know how to do that. But they also have been working years to get to that level of psychology. Now that you have a lot of people looking at their 401ks and freaking out, all I'm saying is look at what seasoned traders do. They don't sell whenever things get bad initially, if it's a living, breathing stock or market that goes up and down. So I guess all I'm saying is you got to tap the brakes on your emotions a bit, okay? I can't say that it's not going to go down another 20%. It absolutely could. But I do know that it's definitely a loss whenever you sell, right? Isn't that the old adage, Christine, of it's only a loss whenever you sell?
Yeah, that's the only time you lose is when you sell. And then, that's great advice. And not too long ago, we had COVID, guys, and we saw the whole market tank. And that created multiple millionaires, like multimillionaires. Why? What did they do different? Did they pull out of everything? Or how did they become multimillionaires? COVID is a creator of so many millionaires. And why? The market tanked. It's tanking now, you know? So what is the difference? What would you do different? Did you become a multimillionaire or billionaire during COVID? You
I
didn't,
did not.
but some people did.
Some
What
people
did they
did.
do? What
Yeah,
did they do? They went
absolutely
in.
do.
They
They
went
went
in.
in and they didn't pull out.
Okay,
Let's
wait.
do some birthdays. Oh, okay,
Wait.
cool.
You have you have to freaking okay, hold on. You have to say your top 3 stocks that you're going to invest in if this was COVID time.
If this was COVID time, and granted, I'm going to look at now, I know I'm going to take with what you're meaning of things that could go up. I think NVIDIA has a great chance of going up. It's also one that's going to be extremely volatile because of the China tariff issue, right?
Yes.
I want a new GPU, and I'm not going to get it. I'm just not going to get it. It's not going to happen because it's going to be too expensive. But however, for whatever reason, NVIDIA is the leader in a huge segment, and that's building the compute power for the world right now. And therefore, NVIDIA, I think, is really big. I would also look at,
NVDA.
oh, thank you for giving a ticker there. I would also look into automakers that are already building in the United States that don't need to build an infrastructure. So I'm looking at Tesla right there because Tesla is it's the United States built. It's a U.S. company. It's built in the U.S.
TSLA.
Thank you.
TSLA.
Thank you. They completely prove that it can be done. And then my last one, this gets into earlier on our rundown, Bitcoin or Mara or anything that's a Bitcoin associated stock, I think would be one to look into right now, whether it be Riot or anything like that, because I think as monetary policy gets more and more a part of things, and we're trying to see how one country reacts with another, you look at something that is based not in a country, but in compute power, which is what Bitcoin is, which I'll get into quantum computing here in just a second. I think anything like Riot or Mara or any of those that are, or even a Bitcoin ETF for that matter, will probably be a good place to look at. But that's on a long-term goal. You've got to be, if you're going to do that, boy, you better have your psychology on point.
MARA and RIOT.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Great corner, Christine. Maybe one of your best ever. You really came with the knowledge on that one. Before we get into mine, let's talk a few birthdays, okay? There's some people that had some big birthdays today. Let me bring it up so we can see it. All right. Today we always like to celebrate who had a birthday today. Did you know he is age 71? Jackie Chan, renowned Hong Kong actor, martial artist, and stuntman. What's your favorite Jackie Chan film?
Oh, I'm not good at this, but I watched all of them.
What's the one with Chris Tucker? Where he's like, "Do you understand the words that are coming
Yeah,
out?"
I
Anyway,
like that one.
that's Chris Tucker, not Jackie Chan.
I know,
y'all
but I
which
like
one I'm
that
talking
movie.
about. Russell Crowe,
Yes.
born in 1964. He is 61. New
Happy
Zealand-born
birthday.
Australian actor. Yeah, happy birthday. He was most known for his film Gladiator.
I
Okay,
love
it's definitely-
Gladiator.
Isn't he the guy that played in A Beautiful Mind? You ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind?
Yes.
Where
Beautiful.
Love that movie. Love that movie. Bill Bellamy, American actor and stand-up comedian,
Yeah.
gained fame on the MTV game show MTV Jams and went on to host MTV programming, most known for his role in the film How to Be a Player. I'm not sure I have taken in that particular film, but I am familiar with Bill Bellamy's work. He
Yeah,
is 60.
MTV like star.
Right. All right, Christine, you are a boxing fan, or at least I've known you to keep up with boxing. Let's see if you know who this is. James Buster Douglas, who is 65 today. Do you know what he is
Yes.
best known for?
No, but I know James Buster Douglas. But what is
Okay,
he
he
most
is-
known for?
He had a stunning upset on February 11th of 1990 of one undefeated Mike Tyson in Tokyo to win the undisputed heavyweight title. No one saw it coming, and James Buster Douglas absolutely destroyed Mike Tyson on that day. And Mike Tyson's life really took a turn from that point forward. And then lastly, well, I have two of them. I have John Oates. Rather than ask you who he is, I'm just going to tell you. He's 77. You know him as Oates of Hall and Oates.
Yes.
Okay? Maybe he's Hall. Wouldn't that be weird if his name was John Oates and he is Hall of Hall and Oates? And lastly, Tony Dorsett. He's a little bigger in my part of the world. American football running back, best known for the time with the Dallas Cowboys. He is 71 today.
Happy
71.
birthday. Everyone's
Happy birthday.
senior citizen today.
That's right. Everyone is a senior citizen. Yeah, I guess they all are. The youngest we said was Russell Crowe, or Bill Bellamy, who was 60. Russell Crowe's 61. So definitely that. All right, with that, let's move to a little quantum computing talk with voice lessons.
Voice lessons, you'll hear it loud and clear. Tech and crypto wisdom, the truth is here. Big thoughts, bold moves, cutting through the haze. When the voice speaks up, you'll be amazed. So listen up.
All right. Oh, I need to change my lower third, because if I don't, I just won't feel good about life. So just a second. There's my lower third. There's me. There we go. Are we excited or scared about quantum computing? I think I turned down the wrong thing.
I am
Sorry.
excited.
You are excited. Okay, good. All right, so here we go. Here is a little bit that you need to know. So right now, Christine, you have a laptop in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you have a laptop in front of you. So it can do what's called one state at a time, just a little bit of compute power, okay? Well, there are quantum computers that are already being built, that exist in the world, okay? And in those, let me turn this down completely. In those, they can do something called a qubit. So your laptop runs at a 0 or a 1, right? That's binary code, zeros and ones, right? It's just on or off. And it can't do both at once, right? It's just where it is. But these qubits that a quantum computer can do both at once. And think of it as like a coin flipping in the air, where it's heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, 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 tails, 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 very fast. Because of that kind of power, you can have a 50 qubit system that does over a quadrillion states simultaneously. Now, I just told you you have a laptop that does one state at a time.
Whoa.
This quantum computer does a quadrillion states all at a time, and it means it would outmuscle probably every device you've ever held in your hand, every computer you've ever owned, anything you've ever seen in your lifetime, combine it, and it doesn't equal the computing power of one of these quantum computers, okay? Google, in late 2024, they came out with a 105 qubit chip named Willow, and they nailed a test in 5 minutes that a normal supercomputer, Christine, not your laptop, a normal supercomputer would have taken 10 septillion years to be able to figure out. It did it in 5 minutes, okay? And it's getting better in errors. Your face tells me you are not even comprehending how fast and super these quantum computers are. Do I have you right?
Yeah, no, what the heck? And what does that mean for the future?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because we're going to get into a few things of what it might mean in the future, and particularly with cryptocurrency. Okay, I want to talk about, I always like to get back to that, so I will. All right, China. Okay, so that Willow chip was from Google. Okay, American. Okay, now we're going to get over to China. The American chip was 105 qubits. Okay, that's how they measure these quantum computers in qubits. The China computer on April 7th, 2025, which if you'll look in the calendar is yesterday, because I come to you with very relevant information, okay? They made a 72-qubit origin that made a billion parameter AI model. Now, just to give you an idea, sometimes whenever we're looking at AI models, we're talking in the millions. This is a billion, and China's now put it together yesterday using quantum compute at 72 qubits, okay? Israel, they have a group called QuamCore. They grabbed $9 million in March of 2025 for a million qubit beast. Their trick is they found a chip cabling, or they slashed cabling that's needed for this by 1,000x. Quantum computing may shrink from a warehouse where it is now to a garage size.
Whoa.
Now, I want you to think about this. Whenever we started having computers and you learned about it in, your textbook, it said, at first we used mainframes that took up a whole room, right? And now literally you've got, a phone that does all that and more in smaller. Now we've got these things that can do what a septillion, 10 septillion years they could do a 5-minute test in. And we've went now from a warehouse to a garage. It's getting smaller and smaller. This level of compute is going to be there. Your daughters are going to be able to use quantum computing, and it's probably going to change their lives in ways that they can't even comprehend yet, okay? There's cash flowing in. You and I talked about how sometimes there's opportunities as a stock market investor to look at where the cash is flowing in.
Now it gets exciting.
Oh, yes, because now here comes opportunity. The Sandbox AQ, which is a group, they scored $450 million in April of 2025. In total, they've gotten almost $1 billion. They've got it from Google, NVIDIA, and Ray Dalio for a quantum AI, okay? All of this, big players see the potential in quantum computing, right? So this is a big, big deal. The United Nations, the UN, dubbed 2025 the International Year of Quantum Science in Tech, okay? And a new job alert for you, if you're looking for a new job, quantum optimization engineers. They'll be like prompt engineers for AI, but in quantum computing. So there'll be a whole new industry created for this.
Ew.
But here's an issue. Right now, Christine, whenever we get into cryptocurrency and I give you a seed phrase, or you get a seed phrase from your wallet and you write it down, right? And you got it, and you got it ready. And you know that you're safe as long as you keep those 12 words somewhere hidden deep within your house, right? You're safe, right? You got those 12 words because that leads to your private key. Those 12 words lead to a big, long string of letters and numbers that is your private key, okay? And certainly your dinky little laptop can't figure out this private key from your public key, and your public key being, in essence, your wallet address, right?
Yeah.
But what about these that are so much more powerful? There is a thought and a concern that it could break Bitcoin, that a quantum computer like this Willow chip, let's say Willow can't do it, but the next iteration can, it could completely solve that and drain people's Bitcoin accounts, maybe without them even knowing it, okay? Because they would have your seed phrase and they could do whatever they want. And they could do it slowly without even realizing that it's happening, okay? So there's a huge risk in this. There's BitMEX says that 50% of Bitcoin transactions reuse their wallet addresses. And if quantum arrives, $3 trillion in Bitcoin could be snatched from dormant wallets. And what I mean is wallets that people don't even check. We could go to the Satoshi Nakamoto wallets, right? And people could drain those, and people might not even realize it. They'd realize it if it was Satoshi's because people really look at those wallets. But point is, if you've got wallets that you don't check on the daily, which a lot of us don't, it could be taken out and you wouldn't even know it. How about this? If people could, what's called a 51% attack, if you could control in mining 51% of or more of the miners of Bitcoin, then you basically own the network and you can completely take over the Bitcoin network by doing that. You would need a monster rig to be able to do it, even in quantum computing. So what are they to do? What is crypto to do? Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum devs are already looking at it and seeing if they can get some quantum computing proof fixes. They have some ideas, and they think a soft fork by the year 2030 could save them if they move quick. Now, that's 5 years from now, and they're talking if they move quick, okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is big. A quantum breach could completely tank the entire crypto market enough to make it completely go away. And you know that there are nefarious people that are waiting for this compute power just to be able to do this, okay? There are people that have some solutions that they're trying to get pushed out, but it isn't pushed out yet. And we mentioned NVIDIA. Their CEO, Jensen Huang, said useful quantum computers are 15 to 20 years off. Think in the 2040s. With Google, IBM, and China pushing, some whisper 2035 could spark a crypto panic. So, are we excited or scared about quantum computing? And now that I've given you all now I've laid it out for you. Is this something that's going to change us and the generations after us lives for the better? Or is it something that's going to completely crumble everything we've worked for?
I mean, with everything that you just said right now, it sounds so scary. It's almost like we need cybersecurity as we step into this quantum world.
Wow, that sounds exciting. That sounds so exciting.
I think that it's going to change everything. It's just like AI. Quantum computers is even crazier, I feel like. And then what type of world do we have in the future with AI, and quantum computers, like together? And how can it work together? And how is it going to be for us? I feel like the more we step into quantum computing and AI, we use a lot less of our brains as humans.
Yes.
And I think we need to make sure we are on top of ourselves on sharpening that because I think quantum computers is crazy. I downloaded this app called Randonaut. I think I talked to you about it a long time ago, but the founder is into quantum computing, and it's like something about mind to computer without you having to say something and it reading your mind. And it's a really crazy app. I'll talk to you about it next week, but a lot of the friends that I did introduce it to, they deleted it because they were like, this is weird. I don't like it. I didn't even say anything and it knew what I said. And I was like, it's quantum computing or something like that from Switzerland. And they're like, I don't like it. This is witchcraft. Delete.
I'm interested, I think. Here's, I guess, something. Let me say this is either going to be good or bad. I want you to think about how technology from like your parents' generation until now, how far it's moved up.
Yeah.
We've went from the internet to, a supercomputer in your hand. It's just, things are just moving so fast. Now we have AI, and AI is making things move even faster. Don't you think this quantum computing, the world's mysteries could be unsolved, the pace at which technology grows could be so fast, and we could solve so many health issues that we've never been able to solve before? Because I just told you something that's supposed to take 10 septillion years was done in 5 minutes. We're going to hit a point where there almost is no mysteries in our physical earth to know of how something works. We're wondering how atoms work. We're wondering, how do we do this or do that? Quantum computing can figure this out. We're going to have AI. Right now, you can do AI on your laptop, right? We can do OpenAI, can have all these GPUs, and we can do all of this miracle work. But imagine if we have the compute power of these quantum computers and they get smaller and smaller. There is almost nothing that can't be done. New industries will be made, but also new industries will be completely gone forever because we have things that can think about them on their own, and they'll make our current computers, and it'll make OpenAI, the way it currently sits, look pedestrian, look like nothing.
Honestly, yes. And that goes with both. Like, we have that huge conversation about how is AI going to change like everything? What jobs is it going to take? And then quantum computing steps into the chat and is like, hi. And it looks more doom and gloom for us as far as like being productive on our own and using our own brain power. And it almost looks like we're like the ants of this world now, like when you have like big tech like that coming in. And I think we just have to stay on top of how can we like be part of it and work with it rather than just lose out on everything. And then we're just like, what's that Pixar movie? Wall-E.
Oh, Wall-E? I just watched, you ever heard of the movie Short Circuit? I just watched that the other day, and that's kind of there's a robot that gets struck by lightning, and he becomes self-aware, and anyway, hilarity ensues. So quantum computing, I definitely am excited for it, but I'm also terrified of it. And so the question here, are we excited or scared about quantum computing? For me, it's both. I think there's a lot of good things that could happen from it, but I'm also very concerned about the effects of having that strong of compute power in the wrong hands, and it will get in the wrong hands. I mean, look at the crypto world, right? How many scam links do you see a day? How many whatever? If anybody doesn't know, we do have a By the Rumor YouTube channel. And Christine,
Yes.
every time I put our show on YouTube, every time I do that, there's some comments are on it that are like, hey, really enjoy y'all's talk. I seem to have this wallet. Here's 12, and they'll put 12 words, 12 crypto word, seed phrase words on there. I don't know what to do with it, but I've got a lot of money stuck. And it's a scam. And I always delete those comments. But point is, people will look for ways to scam. And if they have this kind of compute power, they will look to scam. Guarantee you. I don't know. I'm scared of it, but also I kind of want it. This is exciting to me. Cybersecurity is exciting too. Now that you've convinced me of how exciting it can be, but yeah, this seems really exciting. But it could be a crypto doomsday as well. The crypto people, the big Bitcoin, big brains, they say this isn't something to really worry about. That they'll fix it. Don't worry. And I guess I just have to trust them because otherwise, we're doomed. Especially if we have like a Bitcoin reserve in the U.S. and quantum computing comes out and breaks Bitcoin. That could be bad. That could be really bad.
It's almost like we need a good cybersecurity company.
We do. You should invest in those. You should look into find ways. That sounds exciting. All right, Christine, that is our show today. We went a little bit over, but that's because I feel like for both of our segments, we really were like just rolling. And
Yeah. This is good. I feel like it's what you said. It's like one of each episode we have will be better than the last. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have been tuning in since the beginning, because you were there with all of our technical difficulties. We had some this morning, but it gets better. I think this is one of our best ones. I'm excited to clip this and then continue to get better. And then remember, you guys, if you want to advertise or sponsor us, we have room for you.
Definitely. I can go back to right here. Oops, let me take that away. In the lower right-hand corner, you see a little your ad here. That would mean the whole first 15 minutes while we're talking different things, you could have a little ad right there. And we would talk about you as well. We wouldn't just have it there.
We'll even
We would
have your
actually talk
ticker
about
on the bottom, rolling with the big dogs.
Definitely can do that. Do you want your ticker on there? We can add that to it. So holler at Christine and I, and we can make that happen. With that, let me, where's just me there? Oh, no,
Outro.
Outro. Okay, so I've been saying this for a while that we needed an outro, and we actually have it now. So I've got this outro. You might have seen on the By the Rumor Twitter feed or on my own, or Christine has been reposting a lot of. We have new little pictures that we've made, and I just basically put it to a little music. We'll do this outro, and then we'll get out of here. And then I ask that you, if you're listening, share this, let people listen to it on the replay, and I think they'll enjoy it. Till then, enjoy this. Peace. Right now.
Chasing the thrill of the digital hive. Stocks and tech, you know where they go. This is the path where the ball next road. Behind the charts, the story unfolds. Fortunes are built in the data it holds. From crypto skies to entertainment streams, pushing the edge, chasing dreams unseen. By the roar, the story unfolds. Fortunes are built in the data it holds. From crypto skies to entertainment streams, pushing the edge, chasing dreams unseen. By the rumor where the silence screams, in a world of risks and electric dreams. Take on the future, take the ride. Sharp minds up on the darker side. Sharp minds up on the darker side. Charts don't lie, but the faces do. Watch the market sway like it's testing you. The gossip's currency is hard to ignore. Behind locked doors lies so much more.